Alrighty, boys. Welcome back to the Cutn Sports Podcast. We are here with Tom Caron, NESN broadcaster and Hearts of Pine minority owner. Tom, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Very happy that you're here. Keith, take it away.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to ask you, so since joining NESN about 30 years ago, which congratulations on that. That must be a wonderful feeling.
Thank you.
You've seen countless championships come to the region. What's it been like to see New England go from what it was to being synonymous with championships? Because your career has kind of been there for the entire ride, going back to 2002 with Brady all the way up till, recent in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, I started there in 95, right? I'm glad you said what it was, because what it was, we were in the middle of 15 years without a championship. You went from the 86 Celtics to the 02 Super Bowl, the 2001 Patriots team, without anybody winning anything around here. You get to the point where, they had a parade for Ray Bork after he won it in Colorado. He came back and they had a championship celebration for him. So, yeah, I remember not long after I started in Boston, after coming down here from Maine, and the Herald in Boston had a back page, and it's like the Hollywood lettering in the hills. It said Loserville, over Boston. And It was like that was kind of what it was, right? It was the lovable losers. You came close, but Lucy pulled the football away right before you kicked it every time. And then it kind of all started with Brady, and then the Red Sox, and now it's incredible, right? The golden age of Boston sports, and just right place, right time. So I've had pretty good seats for a lot of it. It's been great.
Keith was just mentioning it's been a long time, 30 years. Is what's changed the most about covering the sport, and kind of what has social media changed the most about sports media, or what you've been doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the biggest difference, right? Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got a platform. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a podcast. And it's, you just have to be, in some ways, you've got to be even more on your game than you ever were, because everybody's fact checking everything as you say it. And additionally, you got to respect that a lot of the audience is getting a lot of the info you're getting, that they have their own ways of getting stuff. So it's not enough to just give out stats anymore. You got to be more opinionated. You got to be a little edgy at times. You got to, I'm lucky because I think we've got a pretty good formula on the Red Sox pre and post game show. We've got great analysts, and I'm pretty, comfortable knowing when to push them and prod them and get them going. And so over the years, we've kind of, like I always say, in the off season, I try to look at a lot of other studio shows, and you keep coming back to rest in peace, but the TNT NBA show, right? I know they're sort of keeping it on ESPN, but it's different now. But that was, the best studio shows and the best ensemble shows. You kind of create characters out of everybody. And that sounds bad, but it really isn't, right? Like, what is this guy? What is he going to say? So if you sort of boil it down, Jim Rice is kind of the old school, we were tougher than they are, and he was. And so, you play to that. Will Middlebrooks is analytically minded, used the analytics to make himself a better player. Lenny DiNardo is the pitching geek who just loves to talk about, finger point pressure and arm slot and release and shape of a pitch. And, you go on and on. And Jonathan Papelbon's just a nutball who's trying to get us all fired. So, you try to be the straight man, the Ernie Johnson down the middle, and keep it on the tracks. It works pretty well.
Yeah, you had mentioned, like, the way I think about it is who gets the views is the entertainment, like, kind of like you said, you have all your characters in quotes, I guess I'll say. And like, I think that's why a lot of Red Sox fans like us are drawn so much to Section 10, because they're kind of the same way. They each kind of have their character, where T's the stat guy, and maybe Steve is the down the middle kind of guy, and Jared's a super fan. The super fan. So I feel like we're getting to a point where a lot of the media is personality driven, since, like you said, everyone has the stats.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, But I feel like it always has been. I really do. I don't think that's anything new. Like I said, how long has that NBA show been around? Certainly longer than anybody's podcast. I think with a podcast, you define it more, that you put it out there more. I think you got to pay a little more attention if you're watching a TV show to figure that out. Right. We're not dicing it up and throwing it on social media every night. And the Section 10 guys have done an amazing job with that platform. But in a lot of ways, it's the same formula as a good studio show, right? I think we've sort of had that for, we had Eck forever, and he was one of a kind, So the best shows are personality driven because the best shows have the best personalities.
Again, congratulations on 30 years with NESN. That must feel amazing for you. But I know you've had many different jobs on that network through the 30 years so far that you've been there. Was there one specific one that brought you the most joy doing?
I don't know about one specific job, but there's moments you think back on, right? I mean, coming on the air and saying the Red Sox are World Series champs to an entire generation of people who have never heard those words in their lifetime. That was pretty cool. I got to be a reporter. I didn't get to Game 7. Maybe it was in Vancouver. We were back to work. But Game 6 of the Bruins Stanley Cup win in 2011, I was part of that broadcast, which was amazing. I love doing the Bean Pod every year. I love doing the play-by-play of the Bean Pod because that's just got so much great tradition and history. And so many amazing moments. But it's really been, the Red Sox, the championships, and even, some of the really low points, right? Like coming on the air as they got eliminated in 2011. We were live on the air waiting for the outcome of the Rays-Yankees game, and Evan Longoria hit the home run while we were on the air. And went from we were going to throw to commercial break. Instead, we said, well, season just ended. Stayed on the air for another hour and a half before we went to that commercial break. So, that's what I love live TV. I love the uncertainty of what's happening. I love coming on the air. Even when they lose, you get a fire. If they blow a save, if I was on the air as the Blue Jays post game show the other night, as terrible as it would be, if you do it right, it's great television. Listen, I was a sideline reporter after the 2003 seventh game extra inning loss to the Yankees. I was in the clubhouse. I had to go interview Grady Little. I was on the plane with the team coming home. And I've talked to our Bruins people as they've gone through a little struggle here early in the year. And I was like, you still got to do your job and you got to do it the best you can. And fans are fired up. You can't just come on and be sad. You got to come on and reflect the passion of the people watching. And I think we've done that over the years.
I know one of the roles that you've definitely enjoyed the most is with the Jimmy Fund. I know you're one of the co-chairs there. You've seen a lot of athletes, coaches, and fans all kind of come together through that. One of them being Brock Holt, another co-chair. What about that specific cause kind of brings Boston and New England really as a whole together so strongly?
Yeah, I'm a kid from Maine, and I didn't get to a lot of baseball games as a kid. We didn't have a lot of money. If I got down to one a year, I was pretty lucky, and it was usually either on a bus trip with a summer camp or a rec program, or once in a while with my dad would take me down for a game. But I remember, all those years ago, my earliest memories are bringing a pocket full of change to put in the Jimmy Fund can, at the Fenway Park, and so. It's just always been so ingrained in the psyche of Red Sox Nation. And, for over 20 years now, we've done the telethon and I've gotten to co-host that. And, I've just seen what the money does. Cancers that were fatal 20 years ago are now treatable and are now chronic. And that's all from the money and the development of new cures and the research. 2015, I had a lymphoma diagnosis that luckily was pretty quick. They removed the mass. I didn't need any follow-up or chemo or radiation or any of that. But, for a year, you're getting follow-up scans to see if it's spread anywhere in your body. And you glimpse into that abyss, of what someone must go through when they find out they have cancer. And so from that point on, you kind of say, I will do whatever I can do to help the Jimmy Fund. Larry Lucchino had been the chairman for a long time. He used to joke with us that when he passed away, it would take 2 people to replace him with the Red Sox. Well, it's taken 2 people to replace him with the Jimmy Fund. So he was pretty much dead on that. Brock and I took it over a little over a year ago, and it's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever had the chance to do.
Yeah, your telethons, the Jimmy Fund ones, they're so good. They're amazing, and they do such big numbers and such. It's honestly, as a fan of the Red Sox and such like that, it's really cool to see like all the fans and everything that donate so much.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, because there are times where you're like, people still want to watch baseball. Like this summer is a really good team, and I just think it's become part of the season now for Red Sox fans. It's 2 days where it's just going to be there. And, it was the most successful one. I think we topped 5 million this year for the first time over 2 days, which we'd never done before. So, and really gratifying. It's amazing to see how many people give. You get lots of calls, and I forget, we had the numbers at the end this year. I think, like over 60% of them were donations of under $100. Which is incredible, right? That's just people picking up the phone who don't have a ton of money. It's one thing to get, a bank and to give us 10 grand. I mean, that's great. We'll absolutely take it. But you get all those people calling up who can give you 25 or $50. I mean, that just speaks to the power of Red Sox Nation and what fans will do for a good cause. But it's my favorite 2 days of the year. It's incredible. It's a lot of work for a lot of people, but it's so rewarding to look back and see how much we've raised over the years.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think talking about the connection between a lot of Red Sox fans and the Red Sox currently, we had touched kind of on Section 10 a little bit earlier, and I feel like since they've really become super prominent, I feel like they've gotten a lot of players on the podcast and everything like that for them, and obviously you do a little bit with them too. How much over the last couple of years do you think there's kind of been a bridge in a relationship built between players and fans, especially with their podcast?
Well, I can't speak to what they do. I mean, we do. Alex Spear and I do 310 to left, and we've had a ton of players on that. So, I just think that, these players now, it used to be you had to explain to them what things were. These guys, Mookie Betts does his own podcast. I just think there's so many direct podcasts from players to fans, and, fan first podcasts like Section 10, podcasts from more established media like what we do at 310. I just think there's so many of them now, what you guys are doing. It's all about being able to get guys to sit down for long form interviews. We do the 310 stuff's great because we can take some of that, put it on the pregame show, put it on the postgame show. So I think players are great about that. I think they understand that it's a really good way to let your hair down a little bit, sort of talk directly to the fans. Jared's done a great job creating an environment, and it wasn't always like that at the beginning. Section 10 was not like that in the early days, but he kind of figured out, if we're going to be able to sustain this, we're going to have to get players to sort of buy into it and come on. And he's done a tremendous job with it. There's no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to the days where you'd see, I think Dustin Pedroia and David Price are two of the people that come to my mind in terms of like polarizing media figures, in the sense that like you could tell that they were still game face a lot of times for the post game shows. And so I feel like, especially now with what you guys are doing with 310 to left with Section 10, I feel like it's nice for the fans to see players as people too. Because I feel like you go to stadiums, and it happened a lot with, unfortunately, Duran Duran. You saw it the one time in Cleveland. I think some people just see it as they're animals in a zoo. And I think it's really cool that people get the opportunity to see them as people rather than just entertainment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, one place I think we've always done a lot of that is spring training. We used to have competitions where we'd have the guys play games against each other, ultimate frisbee or pop a shot, and we got to bring those back, because those would be perfect for today's viral media that people would eat that stuff up. But, just when you have the opportunity to get somebody on long form away from the game, and you can really sort of talk to them and get their thoughts without having to dice it up into 2 minutes or whatever it is. I just think that's where you really get to meet the guy. I know it's what we've tried to do with 310. We've had, just about everybody on. I think we were the first podcast Jaron ever did a couple of years ago, and he really didn't want to. I just kept after him and after him and after him, and he finally did it because I know the guy, and I know how genuine it is. And it was really, it was before the Netflix thing. It was before even the season they shot it. So I guess it was 3 seasons ago now that I got him on. And, he was so open and so upfront about some of the mental health challenges he had. It's relatable, right? You get to see these guys as people and not just these superstars up on a stage. So, yeah, I think podcasts are great for that. And I think the players understand that.
So we are all obviously from Maine as well. The Hearts of Pine is a humongous part of what we do as well as a podcast. Can you explain to everyone that might not know how you became one of the minority owners of the team?
Yeah. So, and by the way, if I sound a little hoarse, it's because I was in Chattanooga this weekend and not much voice left.
That's so fun.
It was unbelievable. It really was unbelievable. I met Gabe Hoffman Johnson in 2019 at an event we do in Boston called The Tradition that I've emceed for a long time. It's the Sports Museum's annual event. And we had a mutual friend, and he came over and said, "You got to meet this guy. He's talking about putting a soccer team in Maine, and I know you love soccer, and I know you love Maine." And I went over and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to put a soccer team in Maine." I said, "I'm in." I played soccer at Lewiston, been a soccer fan for a long time. My son just graduated a couple years ago. He played soccer in college. And so we're, it's kind of been a passion. I always joke, I don't get to watch a lot of sports at night because I'm usually working, but I can get up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday and watch Liverpool play, and so I can be a fan of soccer more than I can be a fan of a lot of other sports. So we've always been into it. And, way back in the day, I was employee number 4 of the Portland Pirates when they came in before I went to NESN. And so kind of went through the launch of a pro team and saw some things that worked, some things that didn't work, and how that all went down. And so, I met Gabe at that event in Boston. I think the following week we had dinner in Bridgeton because he and I both have connections up there, and just started talking. We sat for 3 hours and talking about what this could be and how it would work. And he had a couple people with him. Jonathan and Catherine Cully were already on board. Burke Cherry, who was just a, globally connected soccer guru who just happened to live in Portland, was very involved in a lot of the early stuff, the branding and the naming and all that. So just a COVID hit and kind of set it back a little bit, so we were trying to build some excitement. So we'd have Zooms with Dirigo Union, the early days of Dirigo Union, their fan base. And we would do Zooms that Gabe and I would host. And then as, we got to, I don't know, I guess 2022, maybe that summer, he came in, he said, "You want to join the ownership group?" And I was like, I'm a sportscaster. I'm not an owner. It's kind of fun. I can tell writers no comment. I can do all the things that owners have done to me all these years and turn it around and just walk by everybody. But yeah, so I thought it was such a great idea. So my wife, Kelly, and I, threw some money into it and got involved with the group. And we've watched it grow. Gabe was the only one. You ask anybody, did you ever see this coming? And the only one who can honestly say yes is Gabe, because there's no way I saw it being this popular. But he did. That was really his vision from the start. He used to say, we'll make a lifestyle brand, and the stadium will be the community living room meets food festival meets soccer match, and that's exactly what it is. The fans are bonkers. The reaction's been great. The players are really, they get it. Bobby Murphy's done an amazing job putting together a team of guys who reflect Portland, who reflect Maine. I know you guys had Ollie on a couple weeks ago. I saw that. And he's been so much fun to watch, such a dynamic player. Except for the accent, you'd think he was from here, the way he just acts. So I just think, right team for the right town at the right time. The World Cup's coming next year, so soccer's only going to get hotter. It's been crazy. And then for them to win, to make the playoffs in year one is really hard to do. To beat Chattanooga, legit, number 2 team, won 4 games more and just, every better team on paper across the boards. You did it without Wada. Masashi Wada is one of our best players, and he had a horribly, just a brutal red card that was a joke from a call. See, I get to say that stuff too. I just get to be an owner and complain about the refs. But it was so fun. Saturday night, I mean, I've seen a million, championships and things over the years, right? What have I covered? I've covered everything, right? I've covered Stanley Cup Finals, the World Series, Super Bowls. I was as nervous in the 10 minutes of stoppage time at the end Saturday night as I was of any match, any game, any championship I've ever covered. So I'm not going to go to Spokane. It's a bit far. I hope some people get out, but I'll be at the State Theater. We got a viewing party at the State Theater, which is going to be awesome. So
I'll be there. I'm very excited.
Nice.
That's going to be very fun.
It's going to be crazy.
Very fun.
It's a great idea, right? Get it on a big screen.
It is.
Get 1,300 people. Place going to be bonkers.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my friends. He actually traveled, went to the game, and I was seeing the shots that they took, the social media team. It seemed like it was 75% Maine fans there in the stands. It's like it's really driving the point that we're super committed to this, and everyone's very inspired, by this.
Yeah, it's the passion's real, man. Really. The passion's real, and it's funny because Chattanooga's got a great stadium. I mean, we've got Fitzy. It's been crazy what they've done with Fitzy. I love the atmosphere, but it's not a proper soccer stadium. I mean, I think it's Fitzy, and I think it works for us. I think they've turned it into this incredible atmosphere. But you go down there and there's this. I think it's like a 6,000 seat stadium, built for soccer with stadium. They got a huge video scoreboard and LED lighting along the base lines, and there's nobody there, So, you got a stadium, there's nobody there. And so, I don't know if we were at 60% or 70%. I know we were 90% of the noise. Like they were real quiet. And we were, Don and the Dirigo Union guys had the chance going full bore. I'm telling you, it was a blast. I mean, we're all out of, had no voice left at the end of the night, but it was, and then we all went back to the hotel, went back with the team and watched the end of the greatest World Series game I think I've ever seen. So it was a pretty good night, except Dodgers won. But other than that,
yeah.
Minor details, unfortunately.
You mentioned, how the sport kind of growing. I think a big part of that, of the Hearts of Pine specifically being so big, they have killed the social media and the uniforms. All of their kits are tremendous, and I just have to know which one is your favorite, because I have a very clear favorite. Even though they're all very good.
They're all very good. It's funny. It's hard to call yourself a purist when the oldest one is not quite a year old. But I'm a Woods and Water guy. I like the green and blue hoops. I just think it's the one I wear to matches. The Hearts is great. I mean, that was really cool. The Bandit one and the orange camo. I mean, I wear it out on my UTV when I'm driving around. It's funny. My son wore his. My son and I went down to Chattanooga. He's 25, and he wore his orange camo jersey. And some fans from Chattanooga were taking their picture with him just because they thought the jersey was so cool. They wanted to, I was like, why are they taking a picture with you? They're like, taking a picture with the jersey, really. But when you have other fans from the other team saying, wow, the orange is great. And coming out in September was perfect. Like, they're just so good. Like you said, the social media stuff, the videos they put out on game day. It's Up the Hearts has been a great documentary. We air it on NESN. It's on the YouTube page. Great behind the scenes stuff. They've nailed everything. The front office, if there was an annual all-star team of front office, it'd all be members of Portland, the Hearts Pine, because they've been unbelievable.
Yeah, the Dirigo Union specifically also, they have done such a good job with getting like the zoo and everything. They do such a good job with everything that they do game day and off the game
so cool.
day. We're as a podcast, we're part of the Dirigo Union, and I go on the Discord every single day because it's just great to see. Everyone's so passionate about it. It's just so awesome.
I woke up this morning, again, we got back last night, and I'm back in Maine now, and Yeah, I woke up this morning and the damn song's in my head. Dun, 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 dun. I swear, it's been in my head all day. I'm walking around with the chanting. And I told, Don, who one of the leaders of it, we were talking in Chattanooga, and he was thanking us for everything we done. And I said, thank you, because I really do think what makes this different from all the other teams in the league is that they don't have Dirigo unions in those cities. An independent, organic group of fans that have come together and that put in the time and energy. They make the signs, they write the songs. They got 30-piece band in this. They got bagpipes. My favorite is I don't even know if he's in the Dirigo union officially, but Branch Guy is my favorite guy. I haven't met him yet, but the dude who runs around with a branch is like,
he's awesome.
He's awesome. Remember, it was like the second game in Lewiston. He just showed up at a U.S. Open game with this 10-foot branch and carried it around all night. When they scored, he ran up and down, like, Branch Guy. Like, I kept yelling at him, hey, Branch Guy. It was like the coolest thing I'd seen.
You can't write that, it's like, it's such a natural, like such a thing that happens naturally, and everyone loves it because it just feels right. For whatever reason, it feels right. And
and I think that's a lot of it,
fanfare.
Right? A lot of this has developed organically. When they sing the Ballad of 20th Maine, like, I don't think they were doing that at the beginning of the year. And then it kind of came out. I think it came out around the time they had the Joshua Chamberlain tifo, that massive sign, which was so cool. And then they started. I mean, they might have been singing it before, but it wasn't like, now it's timed as the kickoff and the game starts. And chills. Every time they do it, I try to get over on that side to listen to them sing it, because we got good seats and you don't hear it as good over on that side. You got to be over by the beer corner, and you got to be over with the zoo. It's what makes this whole thing work, is that you've got a legitimately informed and passionate fan base that really cares about what this team does.
I personally never really was into soccer. I was like the football. I'm more football kind of guy. And so when the Hearts of Pine, I saw I went to the brand identity thing, because it was just what my friend that went to the game this weekend was like, oh, I want to come with me. We're like, yeah, sure. Whatever. Professional soccer. And ever since that day, like seeing all the people there, I was like, all right, I can see myself. I like competitive, I like sports. I like getting into fandom like this. And after I went to my first game, I've told everybody, I've been to so many pro sports, Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, football games. I've never been to an experience like that. I think it's just the small, compact, completely full, so loud. Like when I went to the last home game, I was like, I don't think I've ever heard boos so loud at a stadium, and it's Fitzpatrick. The energy is unmatched to any other sporting event I've been to, and I've been, to all the big.
Yeah. Well, soccer does that. Like I said, I'm a soccer fan. Like, I've been over to Liverpool to see a match there, and just like it's intense, right? Like, that's what European soccer is, but it's never been like that here. I really do believe that this whole USL League One thing is sort of how you build American soccer. They've always tried to build it from the top down, right? Like Messi comes to Inter Miami and he's the greatest player in the world, and that people will pay anything to see him play. It's great. It is great. But they've tried that before, right? Pele was here 50 years ago, and David Beckham was here somewhere in the middle, and Maradona. Like, all these guys came to the U.S. at the end of their careers, and it's like a one-off. It's kind of like, it's see Messi play. It's not watch two teams you care about. But in England, for every Arsenal, for every Man U, there's 20 lower division teams with rabid followings. And if you watch the Welcome to Wrexham thing with Reynolds and McElhenney, that sort of gives you a little feel for that, like what these lower division teams did. But those are the roots of European soccer. You go to one Liverpool game a year, but you go to 15 of, Stoke City or whatever local club that you're going to see. And here in the U.S., we've never had that lower division stuff. Right now we do. Hearts Pine broke all those records. Now Boise, Idaho's coming in. They're breaking all our records, which is great, right? You want the whole league like that. You want every city because, it's not like that everywhere. We saw it again in Chattanooga the other night. You don't get this everywhere. So it is the experience. It is the passion. I'm stunned by how sophisticated a soccer audience it is, because to your point, like they boo at the right times. They cheer for the little plays you don't think about. It's like when you go to a hockey game, you're in a good crowd when they cheer a penalty kill for clearing it out of the zone, right? Not just at the end of the 2 minutes, but like in those little moments when they get the puck out, right? You get a good cheer. That's what you're getting at Fitzpatrick. Like these guys know soccer and they bring out the best in our guys.
Yeah, buy your stock now. That is one of my things that I regret the most is not signing up for season tickets. And it will haunt me for the rest of my life.
I thought about it so hard at the brand reveal, and I just didn't do it. And same thing, shooting myself in the foot.
Yep. It's funny. I've heard that from a lot of people, like, oh, I should have gotten in. But you never knew. I mean, you really didn't know. I knew we saw a lot of season tickets. But again, it's sort of the way it built, right? Like it was the second game in Lewiston, the U.S. Open Cup game against Hartford, which is a higher division team. We give up a goal in extra time, but you keep playing. It's not sudden death. Then we get that 30-yard little flick from Jake Hegan. And then you win in penalty kicks. You're like, wait a minute, what is going on? And then it was a couple weeks later. I remember I was sitting at Fitzpatrick. We were playing Detroit in the Jägermeister Cup, whatever they call that. And Hearts Pine beat Detroit at Fitzy. And I will never speak disparagingly about the Sea Dogs or the Mariners or the Maine Celtics or any of these teams, right? I mean, I think Portland's a great sports town because of all those teams. But Portland doesn't host Detroit. Portland hosts Binghamton and Portland hosts Albany and Portland hosts, not even Hartford, like New Britain.
True,
I mean? And all of a sudden, here's Detroit, here's Pittsburgh. We're playing these teams. And now, if they're going to follow through with promotion relegation, which they say is coming to the USL, you might play these teams all the time. You might play Las Vegas and Indianapolis and Pittsburgh. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's
a wild concept to think of,
right?
Portland, Maine, playing these bigger cities for sure.
I think that's what makes it. I do think that's what makes it a little different. Is it feels more major league than a minor league team, and it's lower division, right? But it's not minor league. These players aren't going to get called up by the Revolution. You know what I mean? They're probably going to move on and move and play at higher levels, and that'll be a whole. That hasn't happened to anybody here yet, right? But there's going to be a time where an Ollie Wright or some player is going to go play at a higher division team in England or Brazil or Germany, and you say, wait, he was our guy. It's like, they'll move on. There are higher divisions out there, but just the fact that there are players signed to play here is a little bit of a different feel, right?
I know for myself that I'm not similar to Jake. I'm not much of a soccer guy, but seeing all the videos from the games they've been to, I know that's my big thing for next year is to get out to a couple games because I'm a big sports guy. I love being in that atmosphere. And I feel like Portland, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, anytime that they put their passion into a team, they'll travel. Like you said, you saw people in Chattanooga for it. And I feel like that makes all the difference in the world, man. It really does.
Yeah, I do too. And it's funny you say that, like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. One thing that I think is different in Maine, and I was having this conversation with somebody from the league, but like, why is it working here, right? Why does it work here? It doesn't work everywhere. Well, Portland's the biggest city in Maine. Simple as that. Like, you go to Boston, like that's where you go. But it's Boston. It ain't Maine. Yeah, and it's funny. The League Two, the league below us, one of the most successful teams is the Vermont Green. Burlington's the biggest state in Vermont. You're not like, even most of the teams we play, we're in Chattanooga, but Nashville and Memphis are right down the road. And Atlanta is an hour 45 minutes away. But even within your state, like, I think that somehow factors into this. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. They are the flag bearer of the biggest city in the state of Maine. And I think it works here. It might be why, maybe that's why it's going to work in Boise, because that's the biggest state in Idaho, I think. I can't think of another city in Idaho.
I think you're right. Yeah.
You got anything?
Well,
And do you guys know any other city in Idaho?
Nope.
No, Boise's the one.
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not. Off the cuff.
Yeah.
not
I
under.
feel there's a something Falls, Idaho.
Is it Sioux Falls?
Sioux Falls? Is that Sioux Falls?
Sioux Falls. Is that Idaho?
That might be in Idaho. Might be North Dakota. I'm not sure there's a difference.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's all out there.
But I think that matters, and I think that's why it feels major league, because Portland is the big city, the major league city in the state of Maine.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like soccer has been a very popular sport. Like I went to a high school in Maine. I think we all did. And soccer was always such a super popular sport there. And I think we've been hungry for having that in our area. And I think being able to have something here, I think people are just gravitating towards it because they've wanted it for so long. And now they have it. And the fact that the team has been good right off the rip has been so much fun to watch. Even as somebody who, like I said, I don't watch it per se, but that's because I wasn't good at soccer. So that's part of the reason. I was terrible at it. I'm more of a hand-eye coordination guy. No coordination with my feet. Two left feet, they say.
I was a goalkeeper, by the way. That's the cheat code for that. You know, you want to use your hands, you got to be a goalkeeper.
I was bad at that too. I didn't
because you do have to kick it. Eventually, you have to kick it.
Oh my God, I was terrible. You wouldn't have liked seeing me play soccer for them. But I will say it's super fun to see soccer become this prevalent here, because it is a very exciting sport. Because unlike something like basketball, there's scoring happening all the time, where it almost, you lose a little bit of it since it is happening. But with soccer, it's like you're kind of on the edge of your seat the whole time.
The entire time.
Because it doesn't.
When there is a goal, it's a release, right? It's a just the place erupts. There was a game early on, I forget which game it was, and I think we were down 1-0 at the half. It was a game that Titus Washington ended up scoring 2 goals in the second half. But I think, the crowd was like it got quiet at Fitzy, and they were groaning, and you could feel the edginess. And Bobby said after, he's like, Bobby Murphy said, I was so happy to hear that, because that meant they actually care about the soccer. They're not just here for the T-shirt. They're not just here for the food trucks. Like they want a team that's going to win some games. And, it would be easy to just go wear the T-shirt, have the oysters over from the Lady Shuckers, and then walk away. But no, that last game, was a disappointing draw in the end. But man, it was loud. Like that place
was crazy.
It was crazy. And the game before that, when they beat Spokane 6-1, before the biggest crowd,
that was
bonkers. Everything was going in, and the place, it was like the party just kept going.
Yeah, and it didn't slow down. Nobody just was like, "Oh yeah, we scored another goal." It was like they scored the first goal every single time.
Right,
it's so loud, so awesome.
That's a great point. Yeah, the smoke goes and branch guys running around. It's great.
I went to the Celtics game this weekend, and I spent more time watching the Hearts of Pine game than I did watch the actual Celtics game. And I noticed that, did they bring smoke bombs with them?
No, they actually had those were Chattanoogas. They were red, but then right at the start of the second half, they threw them on the field or something. You couldn't see a damn thing.
Yeah, I looked at the screen and I was like, "What the heck is going on?"
You couldn't I thought for sure they were gonna they did stop the game for a couple minutes, and I'm like, if they put one in now, I don't want this old school here, but I'll hold it up. You could barely the smoke was. Wow. That's not even that. Yeah, it was crazy how the smoke.
It doesn't even put it into justice what it looked like on.
Right on TV. In person, it was worse, and that was on Hunter Morris's end. And so, dude, and they took a kick at one point. You're like, how did he see that? It's crazy.
Yeah. For me, I think what bought me into it so much, rather than maybe the play itself, which is fun. Soccer's fun to watch, but what put me into it was I kind of fed off the energy of everybody else who does love the play, and then feeding off the energy, then you start to learn more and you start to watch more. And one of the coolest things I've noticed at the 2 games is how many kids are at these games, and I can foresee a lot of soccer programs this upcoming cycle
Right.
being a lot more full, because just you can't watch those and not be like, I want to do that.
Right.
You know? So I think
Yeah, I'm old
that's
enough
huge.
that like when I was a kid, Bobby Orr was the greatest athlete on the planet. And there's a whole chain of, they call them MDC rinks around Boston. And those were all built because of Bobby Orr, right? Because, Jack Parker, the old BU coach, used to always tell me, he's like, if you look at what sports are popular in a town, it's or where the highest level of athlete is in a certain sport in a town. He said it's like 10 years behind how good a team is. So like when the Bruins were great, 4, 5, 6-year-old kids were watching the Bruins saying, I want to do that. And they became hockey players. And then, and then the Celtics were great. And you had a whole wave of young kids who gravitated towards basketball. The 04, 07 Red Sox, right? A whole generation of kids got into baseball. You see, I mean, unfortunately, because of the weather, a lot of them can't play baseball. But like we joke, that's why half the GMs in Major League Baseball are from New England, because they all grew up watching Peter Gammons and reading Peter Gammons and watching the Red Sox, right? And now over the last 10, 15 years, you've got this real run of football players because the Patriots have been king, right? So people want kids, 5-year-old kids want to play football, right? So I think that's going to happen in Portland. I do. You got a team now where you're watching Ollie Wright play every night, and Ollie Wright comes to speak at your school. I want to go play soccer. 10 years from now, you got a soccer player.
And him putting on his soccer clinic that he does too. It's great to get,
and appearing on the Cutn podcast. I mean, give yourself some credit.
Yeah. Now he's on his way to stardom. That must be why the Patriots being good must be why Thornton Academy just owns all of Maine high school football. That must be what it is.
I used to do those games way back when I was at Channel 13. We would televise the Battle of the Bridge. Yeah, there's bad old footage of me like as a sideline reporter at Thornton Academy.
They're too scared. They're too scared to play that game anymore. Did
they not play anymore? Did they change?
No, they don't. They said no more.
I don't want to be the old guy, but everything's different now. Like Lewiston is in northern Maine. Like when I was a kid, it was western Maine. It was east and west. Now it's north and south. And you're playing teams that we never played when we were kids. So they changed everything.
I graduated. Yeah, even since I graduated, like I like going back. I live like 2 minutes from the school, so I like going to the football games. It's fun to go to like a Friday Night Lights game every once in a while. It's like, why are we playing Bangor right now? Like, when did we start playing Bangor and teams in New Hampshire and all these crazy? It's like it's completely different, but still winning.
All right, here we go. Well, let's go. We're gonna go down the main path here. Let you answer me, because I'm way old. I'm probably older than all three of you combined, okay? But I still can't figure out if Thornton Academy is a private school or a public school.
It's semi.
A touchy subject. It's a
See, that's what every time I ask somebody, I come away more confused than before.
My wife my wife went there, and she was telling me that so if you live in like one of 3 towns, it's a public school. If you don't, it's a private school, and you have to pay to get in.
Expensive one.
So yeah, which
I think Freiburg Academy is like that too. Up in Western Maine. I think Freiburg Academy, if you're in Freiburg, you go, but people pay like a lot of money to come from outside to go.
In my opinion, non-biased, because I don't have anyone that's related to me that went to Thornton. That is 100% a private school.
Right. That's like the view. I've always joked because we came
when
up
you
with
have
the
dorms,
we were always
have dorms on campus.
Yeah, if you have dorms, if you have students who sleep there, hard to call it a public school.
Yeah, we had one private school in our town. It was Berwick Academy, and it was there were some people that would say it was a public school, but I don't know why, because there were like literal dorms there. They had like, it was the bougiest place on the planet. We were a town with no stoplight, and then there was this private school that would have like private buses shuttling teams in. They had swimming pools and all this stuff, and it's like, what is going on here?
I take it you didn't go to Berwick Academy.
No, I went to Marshwood, so I went to the public one.
Now, see, back in the day when I was working in Maine, Marshwood was a football power.
So I was Marshwood from 2012 to 2016. So we had a 3-year run where we spent a lot of time at Fitzpatrick. We had Rotzko as our head coach, and I can't remember if we three-peated, but I definitely know we won 3 out of 4 years. And it was fun. It was fun, man.
Were you is that Class B?
So I believe we were Class B. I think they got bumped to Class A for some reason, because I have a couple of my coworkers who do some coaching for them, and I think they changed it.
They were Class A way back. Yeah, school size, come and go. But I think they can also move you up if you're like too dominant.
Yeah, we were definitely too dominant.
You can request to be moved up. It's weird. My son played soccer at Bridgeton Academy, which is a 1-year post-grad. And it's just funny because they're in the NEPSAC and they play all those New England prep schools, but it's all based on population size, right? And so, I don't know, Bridge Academy's like in the middle of a pack, but it's all boys and they're all athletes. So like everybody's there to play a sport, so they usually, like the basketball team's really good. They've like, if you ever get a chance, good take, go catch a game at Bridgeton Academy.
Gonna have to. I love sports.
You mentioned
go spend the day skiing at Pleasant Mountain, Shawnee Peak, whatever you call it. Then go over and watch Bridgeton Academy.
Forever Shawnee Peak.
Forever Shawnee. Well, see, but here's the thing. Like it was Pleasant Mountain before it was Shawnee Peak.
That is true, but as a 22-year-old, it will forever be
as a child.
Shawnee Peak to me.
What do you still call it, the Fleet Center? I mean, what do you just?
He's not gonna know.
What?
He's TD Garden. You don't even know that. That TD Garden was the Fleet Center.
Yeah, didn't know that.
No, he's too young. He's too young.
You kids.
Was there any spot, because you said you worked in Portland for a little while? Was there any like really good, I don't know, like foundational memories, something that you took from from that time that you still use today from your time working in Portland?
Yeah, it's funny. You may know the name. Frank Fixeris was like the legendary sportscaster at Channel 13 and passed away, but he was there, for decades and decades. And I get to work with him, which was an honor because I grew up watching him. And the one thing he really taught me is, never try to be bigger than the story, never try to be bigger than the game you're covering. And I'll always remember this, and I still believe in this, like the game you're covering tonight is the most important game in the world. And that, that served me well, like doing sidelines at a Thornton Academy Biddeford game. I never tried to act like, it's a high school game. Like I worked as hard and paid as much attention to that as I would have, later doing a Red Sox Yankees game, so if you're doing the game, that's the only thing that matters. That game is the most important thing in the world. And I think a lot of young broadcasters early in their career are always looking at the next opportunity, thinking about how do I get out of here? How do I move up? If you do a great job covering the teams you get to cover, those opportunities will come. And so I think that's what I learned in Maine. Again, I'm from here, so it wasn't like coming from away to learn about Maine. Sure. I grew up here, I understood what the fans, and then what I really always try, everybody at NESN, like we're always like, here we go with the Maine stuff again. Every time I bring up Maine, because I'm pretty open about it. I like to randomly tell we get a new intern, and I'll be, what's your favorite state in New England and why is it Maine? I usually start with that, and then, but I do, like when I came to NESN, I think when you're in Boston as a TV broadcaster, it's easy to forget that there's people watching you in 5 other states. It matters as much to Bangor and Burlington and Providence and Springfield, Mass, all these cities way outside of Boston. And if you live in Dorchester, you might go to 10 Red Sox games a year. Like I said, if you live in Lewiston, you might go to 1, but you're watching them because you're as, we do all these studies and you'll be happy to know, like Maine always comes out as the most loyal Red Sox fans, and all the the analytics that they look up on fans. Maine is always the one that kills the states. But I just, I've never tried to become a Boston guy in covering it. I've always tried to remember that, it's New England's team. It's not Boston's team. And so I don't know. I try to remember that. I try to, I'm always talking to New England. 5.5 states. I don't give a damn about the New York side of Connecticut. I don't care. They're Yankee fans. But the good side of Connecticut and the other 5 states, that's what matters.
when you were well, obviously you still come to Maine and such because you're in Maine right now.
I
Do you have a favorite restaurant around here?
See, now I got to think. Where can I score a free meal?
Smart
we
thinking.
we went. I like Scales in Portland. I know it's a little bougie, but it's a great, upscale restaurant.
Yep.
$3 Dewey's is just is a great pub. Great spot.
Classic.
I'm a beer guy. The Bissell Brothers. And I try to get up to Maine Beer Company in Freeport once in a while. I'm from Lewiston. Da Vinci's is a great Italian restaurant in Lewiston. If you're ever up there, check it out. Really good. And our place is in Bridgeton. So some really good restaurants up here. Ebenezer's it's in Lovell, Maine. And if you haven't heard of it, it's been ranked the best beer bar in the world. And is consistently one of the 25 best beer bars in America, like every year for 20 years now. And it's literally on the third Ebenezer's Pub. It's on the third hole of Lake Keezer Country Club. Has nothing to do with the golf course. It has a sign on the third hole. It has a sign that says, if you're having a bad round, come on in. It's the third hole. And
That's awesome.
it's, but they have the best beer collection you'll ever find because they have all these rare beers from Belgium and Europe that you can't get anywhere else. So that's a really cool place. And that's a pretty wide ranging list, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This place looks awesome. I'm looking at some photos right now. This place looks crazy.
Ebenezer's?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out Ebenezer's.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Gotta make it
It's closed. They're kind of at their end of summer close now till snowmobile season starts. That happens up here a lot. So I'm in Bridgeton. Spent a lot of the off season in Bridgeton, and they kind of have a whole there's all these places that'll close now and open up after there's snow. They don't have a date. They'll just open back up when there's snow and there's snowmobiles.
Right. Do you do a lot of snow activities? Like skiing and stuff?
Yeah, I ski. We ski. I snowmobile, but I don't have a snowmobile. But my neighbors have extra snowmobiles. And my wife and I are fighting over whether or not I'm getting a snowmobile. So at the moment, I'm losing the battle. So I don't have a snowmobile. The problem is there isn't a lot of snow. She's right about that. We don't get a lot of snow. And we tend to get snow now, in late January into February. And I go to spring training in early February. So not a lot of chance of snowmobile.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I still want a snowmobile though.
I would say just buy a snowmobile.
Yeah, we're good. I got a side by. That's such a main thing, like the UTV, the big kind of kind of cool. But we just got that last year, and it was a lot more money than I told her I was going to spend. So the sort of agreement was, you get that, you can't talk about a snowmobile for 2 years. So we're 1 year into the 2-year moratorium on the snowmobile. I mean, I'm talking about it with you. I don't know if that'll be trouble, but
hear me out. How about tracked on the side by side?
So I looked honestly. It's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
Yeah. And they don't look like they go real fast. I don't really want,
I can't see it going that fast.
Yeah. That's all right. Like I said, two of my neighbors have an extra snowmobile, so I'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure.
From what I've heard, once you get on a snowmobile and you get on a faster snowmobile, you don't go back to the.
Do you guys snowmobile at all? Any of you guys snowmobile?
I've been a couple times.
I'm in the same situation where I don't own one, but I know people who do. That's kind of better. You don't got to make.
We started spending off seasons up here a couple years ago, and I hadn't snowmobiled in 30 years. And my neighbor said, "Come on out," and I was just instantly, I'm calling him every day. Hey, we going? We going? He's like, I got a job. I don't. Can I just take one? So whatever. I got hooked.
So I actually have one question because we haven't gotten the chance to talk about them too much. And I've been very curious to ask you about this. You've gotten to see the 4 championships for the Red Sox, right? Yeah. Do you have a specific, favorite moment, favorite thing from any of those 4? Is there anything that sticks out to you specifically?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think, one thing I do like to always look at is I always feel there's certain moments in a season that again, you lose and that moment still happen. But in, like the Mother's Day Miracle in 07, right?
Oh.
Like that was the first time you were like, wait a minute, something's going on here.
Special.
I mean, we all talk about the Veritek A-Rod fight, is kind of, and that really was like, that was a moment, and it's funny, those guys have told me plenty of times over the years that the fact that Bill Miller took Rivera deep at the end of that game, you forget they came back and won in a walk-off. Like that gave them the confidence that they could do it against Rivera when they finally had the chance in October. So, you know, those kind of moments are always kind of special. 2013, I mean, we had the bombing and the Boston Strong and Johnny Gomes striking the pose on second base, and Daniel Nava.
This is for you is one of the greatest announcing
Don
moments of all
It
time.
was a great call. Right there with the pizza toss. And then 18, it's funny because like 2018 kind of doesn't have that moment as much because they were just dominant. Like they just kicked everybody's ass night after night after night.
For me, it was weirdly Brandon Phillips is the one that always keeps popping up for me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It was that
so
moment.
Out of nowhere. It was
out of nowhere, and it was like
that was Atlanta, right? Was that Atlanta or Cincinnati?
It was in Atlanta. It was like a week or two into him actually like being on the team, and it was at that moment where I was like
a week or two before he was gone.
Yeah, I was like, this thing can't be stopped. Brandon Phillips is doing it for us too. This was crazy.
Yeah, that's a good call for that one because I do remember that was like, oh boy, So there's and just moments in the playoffs, obviously the Roberts stealing the base. Although, I tell a story all the time. Like I'm with Jerry Remy and Dennis Eckersley, and Roberts steals the base and Ortiz gets the walk-off later in extras. And we're going on the post-game show. And I mean, I'd be a liar if I was like, we were all this great. We're all like, oh, they're not going to win 4 in a row. Can we just get this over with? I mean, literally, that's all. Like, because you knew they weren't going to beat them 4 times in a row. And you're like, oh, we got to come back tomorrow night. What are we getting? This is, it wasn't until they got to New York in game 6, right, with the Schilling game and the bloody sock. And then you're like, all right, wait a minute now. You could feel the pressure start to shift over to the Yankees and then just demolished them in game 7. And so, but those are, the 2013, the Ortiz Grand Slam. We do the post-game show back then. We did it on the street. And so you're watching it up. I'm watching it at the press box, but I get it down there. And that was the 8th inning. So I'm on my way down and, they're starting to load the bases, right? And it starts with a walk and then move along. And so I get down there and I'm like, you know what? It's the last game of the year at Fenway because it's gonna end in Detroit when they lose. At that point they've been almost no hit in game 1, and now they're getting beaten game 2. They're getting shoved, and we're like, okay, it's not gonna come back here. So I go down to watch Ortiz. I'm like, oh, one more at bat here before the season ends at Fenway, and he hits the grand slam. And there's all these fans around me like, you knew, you came down, It's like, no, I didn't know. I thought they were.
It was the exact opposite, actually.
The exact opposite. I'm here because but of course I was like, yeah, I did. I saw it coming. So just, I mean, you start going down memory lane with some of those moments, and just incredible. I mean, it's embarrassment of riches how lucky we've been.
There's another one that I was thinking of that was, I don't know how much you might know about this part, but it was not Jeff Francis. It was the security guard with Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah. It was Francis.
Yeah. So how much do you know about like that situation? Because I hear so many different stories on that one, and it's still one of the funniest stories I've ever heard. Or like,
Yeah, when he didn't have his credential and he didn't look like an athlete, so they wouldn't let him in. And he was like, go find Jeff Francis. Ask him about the guy who took him deep. He'll tell you who I am, And that's what I love. Pedroia was the best. I mean, he, so 07 he's Rookie of the Year, 08 he's MVP. And in spring training of 09, I've got him on the show. And in spring training, and he's like, I'm going to prove them all wrong. I was like, who? They voted you MVP. Like, the ones who didn't. Yeah. He looks at me at one point. He's like, I know what you said. I see everything. I hear everything. And he like stares at me. I'm like, all right, thanks for watching. And what do you want me to say?
Dustin Pedroia, man.
I mean, I could go all night on Dustin Pedroia. Like he comes over to us. I'm with a few writers. He comes over once. He goes, do you guys have kids? And like 3-4, I was like, yeah. He goes, that's awesome because you're gonna get to tell them you watched me play. And he runs away.
Dustin Pedroia, man.
Oh, he's the
what
best.
a character.
He was the best. Watching him, I remember seeing him for the first time in spring training the year before he made his debut. And you watch him, a little guy with a big swing. And you're like, wow, where's this going to go? But then when you really look, it wasn't a big swing. It was really short to the ball. It was short, compact, just a huge follow through. But that was a tight, compact swing to the ball. He got to the ball quickly. Man, he was fun to watch. He's one of the best that I ever got to cover and got to watch his whole career. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, Red Sox have been fun for most of our careers, man. It really has been.
You were talking about regular season moments that you thought of that kind of led to those postseason moments. That was kind of why I had some, I guess faith is the right word this year. There was so many moments during the regular season this year. I always think of the Fenway Greens, the walk-offs, the SETI walk-offs, the Devers walk-off, all that. There it is. That was kind of why I had a little bit of faith. It's like it felt like a season that was building to something. And I think
I agree. I mean, I just listen, at the end, I think it was a really good season. I really do. It's a young team. You check the box and making the playoffs. You know what it takes to do that. You got a taste of it. You got to pop champagne. Like these are really important things for young players to experience, to draw back on in the future. And could they beat the Yankees? Absolutely. And probably should have. That game 2 was the game for the taking. You got to score from second or, Duran's got to catch the ball. He's got to drop a bunt. Like there's 3 different moments there that if you execute any one of those plays, you probably win the game. But they weren't beating Toronto. I don't think anybody was except for the Dodgers in game 7 and 11 innings or whatever it was. But I think it was a good season for them. I really do. It was a big step forward. Now you got to figure it out, right? Like you got to, if you don't keep Bregman, does that mean you're adding 2 guys? You know what I mean? You got to keep Bregman just to get back to what you were. And you'd like to see them add beyond that. I think they need a number 2 starter to slot in between Crochet and Bayo. I like Bayo as number 3. I'm good with 4-5. Like, Cutter Crawford will be back. Something out of what you got, all these young guys. Early was good. Hunter Dobbins was really good till he got hurt.
Love Dobbins.
Peyton Tolley's electric. I got to see him have more of an arsenal to be a starter, but you know what? I could live with him as like the closer after Chapman in a couple years, if that's who he is. I mean, nothing wrong with that. So the pieces are there. Probably got to move an outfielder, right? Probably have, now, Abreu's got 2 straight gold gloves. Rafael's got a gold glove. Roman Anthony ain't going anywhere. Probably got to be Jarren Duran, which is going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to follow. And maybe it won't be. Maybe they find another way. But I think you got to trade for a pitcher like you did with Crochet. You got to add power on the free agent market. Guys are out there. Alonso, Schwarber, Tucker, Bichette. Any one of those guys would fit in pretty well here. And that's not, it's not my money, but it's not a lot to do. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money, but it's not, you don't have to overhaul a team. You just got to add 3-4 pieces and you should be a really good team next year.
We had one of the best pitching staffs in the entire league this past season. So, if you add that number 2 starter through a trade, I don't think Hunter Green has too much on his contract. I don't think a guy like Joe Ryan has too much on his contract. So those are
Joe
2 names.
Ryan's the one. It's what I heard. They got pretty close at the trade deadline. So get it done.
According to Fox and Yahoo Sports.
Of course, they had him.
They get it done.
Listen, we're on the air. We do that like 2-hour trade deadline show. And all of a sudden my phone's blowing up from people who saw that. And I'm texting everybody in the war room. They're like, no. They're like, we think we're getting close, but it ain't done. And well, Fox thinks it's done. Oops.
Yeah.
That's like the plane with Shohei to Toronto a couple years ago. It's on the plane.
It's on his way.
Sometimes we rush a little bit in trying to get the report out there.
Sure.
I think the Joe Ryan stuff might end up being very similar to what happened with Crochet, because I remember at the deadline last year for Crochet, they needed all three of the big three. They needed Meyer, Anthony, and Teal at the time, and then it ended up just being Teal, Montgomery, and then a couple of other pieces. I think it's going to be similar, where that price is going to drop down now that the premium of the trade deadline isn't there.
Right. That's right.
And I think if you do that, you go get a guy like Kyle Schwarber. I've been super high on trading for a guy like Nico Horner, somebody who can really command a good glove in the infield. But I feel like if you just do some of that stuff, we've obviously got gold in the outfield. So
Naylor could be a really good option too. Like he
love
would be pretty good.
Naylor.
Yeah.
Josh Naylor is my number one to sign.
Yeah. And if you like, I always feel like if you were laying him out, he's probably, he's behind Alonso and Schwarber, and probably Tucker, move quick on those guys. Move quick on a guy who's fourth or fifth down on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because don't let everybody strike out on their top guys and then start coming after the guy you want. Right?
Then the price gets higher.
Compare Josh Naylor to Pete Alonso. The bat's not the same, obviously, but his defense is significantly better than Pete Alonso.
Much better.
We need that. And
his
bat, don't get me wrong, his bat is still good. His bat,
fine.
And he's
That's fine.
stealing
We need
bases
good defense
too.
and we need fewer strikeouts.
Mm-hmm. And
Naylor
we were
also
talking
has
energy earlier. Like I feel like he has Boston energy. I just always think of that gif of him smashing his chest after coming through the home plate. I was like,
I think he'd be
like
a great
Boston
fit here.
right.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'd be a great fit here. It's gonna be interesting because I don't know what'll happen to Casas. We saw what he could be. Now you got the injuries. Is he in Worcester to start the season? Might be. Just gotta to work it out and get back. But we'll see. I will say, knowing him well enough, that he is the kind of guy who will prove a lot of people wrong if he gets the opportunity. So if he's healthy, I still think he can be a big part of this.
I think if he commands the zone a little bit better in terms of like in zone swing percentage, I feel like he'll be fine. I think he is so developed with his eye that he does try to take those close pitches when he should be swinging potentially at some of them, and he does try to work a lot of counts. But when he makes contact with the ball, it goes. I remember there was something he did against Logan Webb. I think it was 2 years ago. It was inside outing a two-seam fastball inside, and he put it like 400 feet the other way.
Right.
Normal people don't do that. Normal players don't do that. He does have.
No, he's a big, strong dude. Like he is a dude. And I thought the defense, it's inconsistent, but I thought it showed signs of improvement. The footwork still scares me a little bit sometimes. He sort of gets a little happy feet over there, but he's still a young guy, man. He's still one of your younger players. Like you don't give up on a guy like that overnight. You're not gonna, it's not like you just go trade him right now. After the injuries, you're not going to get enough for him. So let's work with him. Let's get him back.
Yeah, see what he can do.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do have a question. We were talking about what would be some good, reasonable fits for the team next year. Do you have any kind of pipe dream thoughts of like, now you don't really see it coming, but this would be huge?
Well, nothing, I know there's a Japanese player too they're talking about who can make a big difference. But I just think to me, it's pretty simple. You keep Bregman, add Naylor, and get Ryan. You do that, I'm a happy guy.
Oh yeah.
Simple as that. I mean, really. I mean, that's you've addressed the offense. You've added a pitcher. Let's go. Give me Anthony back. Give me Marcelo Meyer at second base. I would think. Narvaez has been a find behind the plate. I think you're good there for a while.
Captain.
Stick somebody at first base and you're in pretty good play. You're in a pretty good place. I don't know, and you know what? As I say that, I don't know what you do with Yoshida. I really don't. Like that's the conundrum. I like Yoshida. He puts the bat on the ball,
big time.
but he's not going to play the outfield here, and he doesn't have the power to be a DH.
Yep.
I think I need home runs for my DH.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that is. It's a lot of money to cut and run. Maybe there's value in a trade. Maybe he's part of a deal in a trade where you're eating some money. We'll see, but I like the player. I just don't like the fit.
Agreed.
Which is tough. I feel like I have that opinion on a lot of the guys. Not a lot, but there's so many people that baseball is such a long season where you start to really like a lot of these players because you're seeing them every single day for months, and
Right.
you get to know their personalities and all that such. So it's hard when there's players they're not playing so well. It's like we could upgrade here, but love the guy, love the guy.
It's called the Dom Smith effect, is what it's called. Like, still people out there who love Dom Smith.
Yes,
Dom Smith's a great guy, and Dom Smith was an incredible find for 10 weeks. But
and that's where that it ends. Like that's what he is, and it's that's okay.
At the end of the day, the Red Sox, in every one of their championships that they've won, they've had an elite, not just an elite DH. They had David Ortiz for most of them. Then they had JD Martinez. Go out and get a guy like Schwarber. I feel like that's going to be the best way to do it. And then you had those other guys you were talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I do think there's also the avenue that, some teams rotate a guy through. If you didn't have Yoshida and you brought back Duran with Anthony, can you rotate an outfielder through the DH every night, get guys off their feet a little bit? I think that can work, but it can't work with 5. You know what I mean? And if you want to count Yoshida as an outfielder, that's 5. So you got to make a move somewhere there.
I agree.
Well, Tom, thank you very much for taking the time tonight
this was fun.
to talk with us.
Yeah,
we really appreciate it. We hope you had a good time.
I did.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much.
We're ready.
Have a good rest of your night.
All right. Up the hearts, as we say. And,
up the heart.
Up the hearts. You pause there. I don't know how much of a family show this is. So
fill in the blank.
UTMFH, as we like to say.
That's right.
Bang.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, great job. As a guy from Maine, I know, it's cool to have something like this up here that we can call our own. So keep on fighting the good fight. It's you guys do a nice job.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for letting me be part of it.
Absolutely. Anytime you want, Tom.
Do it again after the parade.
Yes.
That's right. We'll be at the parade.